Welcome to Maboneng, part 2. We're going to be asking yet again the question of what is the ideal Africa? Checking in with every African individual that will come across in Maboneng. Right now we're starting up in Jewel City, as you can see behind me. Great establishment that they're building with some great artwork that they have going on here, and blessed place to be starting off. So walk with me and we'll take you through everybody's state of mind in terms of the ideal Africa. What is your vision for an ideal Africa?
Okay, my vision for an ideal Africa will include, peace, unity, and respect.
It's such a good question, actually. Because it's a personal question because it's an individual question. On my perspective, I feel like Africa as a whole, it's always been known about unity. We've always been a tribe. We've always been in groups. We always grew up as collectively as a culture.
I think ideal Africa is when the black man is first himself before he's anything else. So the black man must be a black man before he's a Christian. And he must be a black man before he tries to be a Muslim or a Jew.
I think for me, an ideal Africa is when Africans start to realize who they are, and they need to tap into that space, because we're going forward not knowing where we're coming from. So for me, if we get into that space, it will be crucial for us to progress both in the society as well as in business and the entire whole round.
I believe the ideal Africa is basically us as Africans taking everything that we have in terms of culture, resources and so forth, and projecting it out to the world, because the world has a certain perception of Africa, and that's not even what Africa is about and so forth. So there's so much more that we can actually offer the world. However, our stories aren't being told. So it's all about taking our resource, our stories, and making it the best that we can actually do as Africans.
And how can we achieve that? We just need to unite as black people and bring each other back forward, back up again,
And authority to be whatever you want to be. And also to understand the next person before actually coming to a conclusion that you know what this person is about. And the whole ideal for me is going to bring us in a closer realm. We call it Imbumba. It's going to bring us closer to understanding ourselves. Because once you know yourself and you know the next person, you get a little bit of a reverse feeling. That's like you understand how it feels to be the next person.
And not forgetting the beauty in Africa, as well as the riches that we have. We are the richest continent in the world. However, we are not even seen. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So it's all about taking that riches, not having some political leaders only having that riches, and spreading that riches amongst Africa, cultivating our culture, spreading it out to the world, and making the most out of that.
And now it's so individual, because people just have to work for yourself and then just enjoy your own freedom in a way. And there's just none of that individualism. And you don't even know where you come from, where I come from. It's just so much diversity. I feel like if we look at the future, 25 years from now, I know it's going to be so high unlikely and very impossible, but if we can have just something which just brings us together more, because I feel like that culture is just separated. It's not
unity.
Yeah, that's what has been lost in a way. Every time when I get to anywhere place, even if it's a place where I grew up in, I have to reintroduce myself. It's because even the people which are there now and the people which were there lost, are not the same in a way. So I feel like the unity has just been broken in 2 generations, and yeah, but I think it's part of nature as well. For you to go to another place, and it's part of nature. But I feel like when you ask about an ideal Africa, so a future perspective for me is just having ways of just bringing people together. Not Western, not African, not just people together.
And one thing that I almost forgot. An ideal Africa for me as well is one currency. Let's kill all the borders. Let's trade with one another.
Yes,
that is crucial.
The unity factor.
Yes, absolutely. We are all one.
And then the next question I would ask you now is that what do you believe is your role in creating this ideal Africa, or your role as Africa is today? What is your current role in bringing it about, your vision?
My role in creating this new Africa, or the vision, projecting the vision, starts firstly from within. I need to be a better person so that I can motivate each and every young person that's coming up, because you can give someone money, but what have you taught them? They go around the corner, they waste the money or they spend the money. But when you teach them, when you equip them, when you show them, look, this is the journey I followed, and I can give you a couple of shortcuts so that you can take whatever I've done and know that you can go forward. And also just inspiring young kids, because I didn't have a dad and it wasn't easy. There's a lot of people that we look as, or young people that we look as role models, but they aren't actually role models. They're actually bringing us down. So I just want to be, firstly, to myself, a role model to myself, so that I can inspire other kids out there and they can grow and they can know that they got a big brother in me.
Me, indigenous knowledge. That's the way I'm making myself and making the vision of a better African go forward. These cannabis products are so expensive, you go on the shelves. I'm probably the cheapest in the country, right? The white people sell it to themselves, they don't sell it to black people. So I'm trying to infiltrate the Kasis, the villages, with cannabis products. That's how I fit into making Africa for the Africans again,
All right, where we start from is we tend to make excuses and we say the situation, the system is not conducive for us to do it. My belief is start where you are. So I'm starting from the food side, which is what I do, and I'm trying to tap into African indigenous ingredients and recipes that I'm pushing up. In that space, I'm also liaising with other chefs in Africa to say, let's try to create an awareness about African cuisine, our indigenous ingredients, so that at the end of the day is the world can also get to experience and taste and know. If I should just say is from the chef background, there's a lot of stuff that we did that are being done now, and you could see where they started from.
Yeah, I feel like it's just you being yourself, because the more like you just get to introduce yourself to people and be interactive, that's you actually getting to know people, you talk about the power I have right now is just meeting people. In the future, I'd love to encourage people more to just go out there, get to know people. It's not good to stay in your own space. It's not good to be your own private and just work on your own. It's good to just conversate and go out there, go and meet people. That's the way you think, I feel like an ideal Africa should be like. Not like on the internet, not on the social media, not on the Facebook, but interacting. Person to person. That's how I think. Because I think that's what was lost in a way, is the fact that the social media era came through, and the social media era just made it so easier for you to just interact with someone wherever you are. And it didn't really have to be us talking to each other physically, but we can just chat on WhatsApp. And us chatting on WhatsApp nowadays is much more comfortable than me meeting you. I got more conversation to talk to you on WhatsApp than me meeting you. You understand? So I feel like in a way it's just more interacting with people.
My role is very simple. My role includes fire, it includes seeds, it includes color, it includes canvas, art, and as a whole. Like what I do, I got a style of life that introduced me to people of all walks of life. So I'm an artist, so I'm allowed to speak to anybody. People can't judge me. I can say whatever I want to say. I'm an artist, I can get away with a lot of stuff. So I use that. License. Yes. I use that to actually empower and to understand the goals that we have, because life is all about understanding. My name is Snow Chino. I'm an artist, self-proclaimed, self-taught. And that's me. My art is in Maboneng. And if you want to see a little bit of me, just come and visit the place.
My name is Uviwe. I'm just like a regular person actually. I tap into everything, photography, music. I like art. I like a lot of art, Yeah, and I'm also a student as well, so yeah.
My name is Chef Sia of Kobo Cuisine. It's a restaurant that is advocating on progressive African style food. Yeah.
Awesome.
We are in 59 Orange Street in Maboneng, in Joburg, in case.
My name is JP Daniel, actually. Yeah, that's my name.
Okay, greetings to everyone watching us from all over the world. I'm here with Bongai, and what we're going to be doing is carrying on episode 2 of Ideal Africa. So we spent some time talking to the people on the streets of Maboneng and in other areas, and we just want to do an analysis of what we found out. So I just want to start by asking Bongai, who wasn't here with us last week, from the talks that you've been hearing, people, or the ideas that people have been throwing around, what do you feel like was the general consensus this week in terms of the Ideal Africa?
Well, in terms of the Ideal Africa, the common sentiment was mainly people wanted identity. Identity, not in terms of, they wouldn't come out and say it and be like, to be identified as an African, but they want an identity that is brought about through like unity.
Yeah.
That was a common theme also just coming out of everything that we're talking about. Like everybody kept on echoing, like us coming together, more love, more unity, let's do things together, let's take care of each other and all those things. So people are aware that they need that unity factor. They want to feel like they belong with each other and to be in harmony with each other as Africans.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was my feels.
And you feel like there's a very strong connection between unity. Unity was like the strong theme last week, combined, coupled with borders, like borderless Africa. And now that's identity. So you can see that with the borders, and that's where the identity issue comes in as well, right? Because everyone's still identifying as Zimbabwean, Nigerian. It needs to be stripped away. But I guess now one of the questions that kept on coming up in my mind while we were doing that was, so what is this new identity that we're going to have to take on? Because it seems like there's a lot of, some people mentioned the African needs to know themselves first, right?
Yes, that was another
exactly, right?
theme, knowing
yourselves, right? So what is knowing ourselves, right?
All those things. And
so you got to start thinking about those kinds of questions, right? Because what is knowing ourselves? What is this identity that we need to get back to? Because it seems like we had it, right? That's the sentiment again. We had it, then we lost it. What I can say that maybe we lost it, or we made it seem like we lost it because of Western influence. So Western culture has come in, which was, okay, I don't know if you can call it culture, but like Western influence has come in and it's sort of changed, right, globalization, in fact, and sort of changed the way we do things. But has it brought anything that you think we can keep before we strip it away and just keep and go to African identity? Or are we looking at just completely, let's scratch it all off and let's go for a brand new African identity?
Well, from my point, the way I see it, it's a question of when people say we need to go to know ourselves and to remember who we are. Who are we remembering?
Right.
What are we remembering? Are we talking about going back to the traditional aspect of things? Because if we then break it down to that, then we are now entering the realm of tribalism.
Yeah, right.
Because most of what we identify as tradition and culture is what is rooted from like our tribe, per se.
100%.
And I say, to answer that question of now, like, do we scrape everything and start afresh? And I think that's like a point where we need to actually get to. We need to like just erase everything and really start afresh, because things that other people identify with are not what we all identify with. And what we need, it seems, is a more of a culture of being able to evolve. Change needs to be a part of it. Because I'm not saying we do away with our tribal influences. I'm saying we need to start looking at those things as things that can be brought onto the table as fresh new ideas, instead of things that divide us. It shouldn't be like, I'm Zimbabwean and we do things like this. This is the way that things need to continue. No, it should just be like, look, as Africans now, what has worked for you? What do you love?
Exactly, right?
You know? What do you love? Are there other people who love the things that you love? Because the thing is, with Western identity or culture, it's more, I think the problematic factor is that it's a culture that's coming from people who've known how to deal within their own environment, their own space, things that influence them and things that make them to work more efficiently. And we need to find out now what works more efficiently with us as Africans, what makes us happier, what stops us from copy pasting. Because the idea of now, if we think about like design, we've got great designers, we've got great artists, creatives in general. We are not lacking. What's lacking? Technological advancements and all those things that make, bring it to the forefront.
Yeah.
So the things that we find ourselves admiring from the West. You know,
Yeah,
we look
could
at them
be.
as things that can only be done in the West.
Yeah.
But then it's like, no, we just need to advance in certain areas to
Right.
allow us to start projecting the same energy.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you look back, also we can bring in Beyonce's new
Yeah.
album, you know,
Yeah.
like how it's been problematic or controversial per se, because people feel like she's probably like not in the right space to be telling the African story. Others feel like she is telling the African story.
Yeah, right, exactly. Because that's the thing, right? You're going to get now all these different perspectives coming in. And I think that's what helps us actually start to really refine. And, you know, the fact that we're having this conversation probably wouldn't have been possible a couple of years ago, right? People wouldn't have been discussing or even thinking about Ideal Africa or what an African identity is. So I guess we're taking the steps towards the right direction, right? Towards defining this identity and getting to the bottom of what our African identity is, right? But now, okay, we talked about the Western culture influence. Okay, maybe we can take some things from there, but we want to. It's about building something together.
Yeah.
It might take from Western influence. It might take from a lot of African influence, right? What we know already. But it's about doing what's comfortable, right? And
For us.
exactly for us.
What
And-
are our roots?
And now that's taking me to this question now, right? Which we noticed from yesterday. How many people did you find that were a little bit uncomfortable by just the idea of like, what? Africa ideal? What do you mean, right? Like today we just went and interviewed someone else, right? They don't think about it. And I'm like, is this a problem that people aren't thinking about in Ideal Africa, right? And hopefully now as we talking about this and actually getting it out there, people are starting to turn and the wheels are being like, could Africa be an ideal? You know what I'm saying, right? So I just want to ask you, like, you know, like what did you get from that when people being hesitant? Was it like, do you feel like it's not necessarily just the Africa thing, maybe the camera? Or do you think like, no, it's definitely something to do with just talking about Africa in general?
Even like, let's take it back to the camera, like just simplifying it to that, you know. Yes, there are people who are uncomfortable in front of the camera, but like we noticed yesterday, like a lot of people are jumping in front of the camera.
Yeah, right.
You know, people are ready, camera ready all the time.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
seems.
yeah.
And maybe if we're rolled in with like BBC or you know,
Right,
with all the flashing lights,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure you know how people are always waving behind the person talking
Yeah,
and so excited.
yeah.
So I don't think it's the case of the camera. I think it's now of being like, okay, now we've taken someone out and singled them out and being like, what do you think?
Right.
And they're not used to having like someone ask them that question on an individual basis. So we might have actually like thought about Africa.
Yeah. But-
Let's
Yeah.
say we've thought about Africa.
Yeah.
But then now we're adding ideal.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you talking
What?
about? This is Africa and this is how it is.
Yes,
you
right,
know?
uh-huh.
So now you're blowing my mind and asking me what is ideal. What
Yeah,
do you mean
yeah.
what is ideal? You're asking me to think better for Africans?
Africa, right, uh-huh.
You think we deserve better?
Yeah.
I mean, I've always known that.
I've always known you deserve
I've always
better,
known
but I
that
never
you
thought
deserve
about
better,
it.
but I never thought about it for
right.
how it is.
Yeah.
So you always saw that like hesitance in the fact that people did know what they would like to see.
Yeah,
because
right.
obviously when you're going through day to day,
Yep.
the things you're just like, you notice subconsciously, you're like, okay, we could do that better,
Yeah.
or I could do that better,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
I have something to add to this conversation.
Yeah, right.
But then because no one ever asks that question,
It's
and
just like
or
somewhere in
rather,
the
it's
back
not
of
a
your
lot
mind
of people
there.
asking it.
Yeah.
Being like, it's almost like what makes you special.
Right. I see.
It's like me special. So
Right.
I think that's like what I was getting from it.
Yeah. And like, I think the last point that I want to bring up is that when I'm asked people about what they can do to make the ideal a reality, a lot of people already feel like they're doing something. And I feel like that's a nice positive takeaway. Like no one ever actually said like,
not
there's
doing anything.
nothing I'm
Yeah.
doing, right? There's nothing I can do. So that's a nice positive to take away from that. That looks like people, even when they're not thinking about it, the moment you ask them, they realize, hey, wait a minute, I'm already doing it, right? I'm kind of going towards that goal, but I just never really brought it up to my mind, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And I've noticed that most of them, a lot of it is in the creative space as well. Do you think that's an issue? Should we maybe, or maybe we just haven't talked to the right diverse group of people? We're still going to be going out there, talk to more people. But like, definitely the creatives seem to be tuned in to making Africa ideal, right?
Well, it's a question of like what are they already doing? Okay.
Yeah.
They may have been already doing it, like you're saying. Like
Yeah.
they're like, oh, I was already doing this. But then I think the element of now doing your works with that ideal Africa in mind.
Yeah.
Because before, they may have been doing it, but it was just in the space of, I'm being creative.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
just doing what I do.
Right.
And yeah, I'm working with African people.
Yeah.
But then now it's like maybe after the conversation that they had with us, it was now like maybe they will move away from that and be thinking what they're creating and be like, yo, I'm African, you know? How do I spice this up in my way? How do I add a me?
Yeah.
You know, I was asked the other day, like, what I believe is my role.
Right.
So maybe that's like subconsciously now will be working in the background and they're creating and being like, now I actually have to think about what I have to bring to the table, not necessarily, oh, I saw this other Western designer doing their thing and I want to copy what they're doing.
Yeah.
Now it's also maybe like, you know, in the background, I hope they're thinking like, you know, I'm valuable.
Yeah.
I have something to bring
give
to
out
the
there.
table.
100%, right?
And it's worthy.
Yep.
It can be.
It can be
worthy.
something else.
So even when you think about like, yes, we talk to mostly creatives. Now the other question of like, are we valuing our creatives enough? You know, what is it? Because we seem to be in amazement when you see things coming from the outside and being like, wow, great art and everything.
Yeah.
But I think another problem is that maybe it's not about our creatives not identifying with their African identity per se.
Yeah.
But a question of they are creating that material.
Yeah.
But then the rest of us are not looking at it and
Right,
being
and
like, wow,
actually,
that is great
and
work.
admiring it, right?
We're
Yeah.
just looking at it like, can I just get that for 10 rand? Like, what are you talking
Right,
about?
maybe not
You know?
valuing it as
Not,
much,
you know,
yeah.
We're not the value aspect. So,
And that also takes some re-education, right? All right, excellent. But like, we're definitely going to continue this. This is episode 2.
Definitely.
We're going to have 2 more episodes for the month, and I hope the wheels are turning where you are, right? And that we're
You're
getting you to
thinking.
think exactly about something
That
you probably
Africanism.
right, exactly, and it's real. You know, feel it. We hope it's making you think, and we hope you're looking for the ideal Africa and what you can do for it. So we'll catch you again next week. Thanks a lot.
cheers.
Cheers, guys.
An ideal Africa is where we all value ourselves and have pride in ourselves and know the value in unity. And when people think about unity, we're always thinking about, I guess, the constraints of being bound to each other, but that's not the unity that I see. I see the unity in energy and creativity coming together, innovation coming together, our minds coming together to create like a better space, to create a better Africa. Because there are a lot of issues right now on the African continent that are only there because we are not all coming together and discussing these issues and addressing them in a way that would solve them according to our terms. We're constantly waiting to have them fixed from the outside, but I'm saying that we are capable of actually fixing them from the inside. So that is what an ideal Africa for me would be. We need to start there, just by coming together and putting our minds together, valuing each other's contribution, and actually doing away with division, tribalism, nationalism. It's not to say you must not be proud of where you come from, yes, true, but let's remember there's a bigger continent at hand, and that for that bigger continent to work and for everyone to benefit sufficiently and for it to actually be corrected faster, we need to come together and think as one.
Okay, and then our second question is, what do you think you can do to make this vision a reality?
What can I do? Well, I'm already doing it by speaking, in hopes that whoever hears my answer, gets thinking, really starts to think about like, okay, I've heard what you've got to say. What else can I do? For me personally, I work towards like creating platforms in which people can, come together and bring whatever they have in terms of my area of expertise, design, business. I think of working towards like more collaborative efforts, and that's as small as like those are the small little steps that we can start taking to advance towards, being one. If we can just start with me, Tawanda, let's do something. And then from me and Tawanda, then we move on to another person and we, create bigger spaces, keep it going, and for people to be ready to welcome that energy.
All right, thanks a lot, Mongani.
You're welcome.
All right, now I'm taking. Okay, Kylie, you're here. And the first question I'm going to ask you, all right, is what is your vision for an ideal Africa?
The corruption must stop and the human trafficking, and people must learn to get well along with each other.
All right, and then I want to find out from you now, what do you think you can do to make that vision a reality?
I can inspire people and those people can inspire other people, and like that we can work together and it'll happen.
All right, thanks a lot, Kylie.
Okay.
for that. The message is needed. Things got to rest for them. Time them break. One hand, how the discipline is needed. This is not how we have to carry ourselves. Cause nothing of evidence and unseen incidents.
Here's my number, this one.
Life is about
the must come, we don't know.
The story with this version of the coffee in the best coffee house. When you get the word you talk, a sound. From the tablets when the dogs take down. This has with the behavior of the people in a surround. You could have you use all every bird and sound. What the people want in earth is what will go down. Get them out, I listen and see the first the chakra of my crown. No matter 24/9 old and lay down. What's up? The message is needed. Time get desperate and time get dread. When I hear how the discipline is needed, I see how the epic carry myself.
Yes, Rastaman.
What's up? The message is needed. Sensibility, what is human worth? Trenches to defend and of the faith self-defense. And we rid ourselves of biases and prejudices. Respect all people's chances to live, oh yes. Don't be so to receive and not to give up.
No matter what you think, and no matter what you do. It's not for this one.
Fire!
Where's Eddie?
You went to get mom.
No matter where you are, let the Most High Jah be your guiding star. Jah because He Jah carry us far. Jah and I guidance and protector. Aye, 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 Jah protection. Aye, 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 aye.
Yes, Rasta Mission. What's a mission is a Rasta man. Holy Manuel King Selassie. Jai! Yes, King Sibiso. don't know sin. If you don't know, you're gonna wake up, you know, from the slumber.
Black and white, unite, come to the feast, dancing in one love. I shall be like you and man. Now so you can myself and all mountains of Zion.
Yeah, man. All the people who love the max for me down no saying. Yeah, man. In the meantime, yeah, man, youth. I'll take sit there. I'll sit there. Yeah, man, youth. Walk on there. Walk on there. Yeah, man. People, never waste time, man. When I have time, you know. Yeah, man, we love reggae music, the max for me down no saying. Yeah, man. I don't know what you're saying, I'm music business, they're not saying. Yeah, man.
Hello, 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 hello. Yo, I'm spoken to my inner inside poetry. I let you flow and see and subdivide the bush in forestry. I live to oversee and understand my currency. Forget the genes, I'm born to breed in universal streams. But as it seems, I lie awake and picture perfect dreams of automated scenes of Mother Nature sitting next to me. I'm free of nicotine, kerosene, and psychedelic side effects of morphine and draws a vaccine. Social emotional situations are optional. People ordering food and odor deodorant. Your nose are ignorant, mind is active and opulent. They're overconfident in their tragic loss of South Africans. And why don't we South Africans? I'm making friends, I'm breaking plans, I'm betting plans, I'm really making on my journeys. I can really get stared like your band, I'm rubber band. Respect to eat, I'll step up for the opportunity. Yo.
It doesn't need to ring a bell. It's kinda like irrelevant.
Yo,
what you think?
I don't have time to prove a point to pointless strips, so there's a pause in my points. That's why I'm rapping at the peak of my voice. So pointless, I'm forming a joint fantasy, speaking your pressure points. Fun spirit to a point. In fact, I'm not a pen to write at this point. I'm focusing on forming a joint, build people forming a farm and a farmer to join. Combination of flour and soil and the making of flour and oil. It takes about an hour to boil. Without awareness, being conscious is blind. That's why we need our subliminal minds. Reminiscent, not just aligned. I'm like nostalgia in a crystal mind. In a form of light, that's why we get to love and laugh about life. Don't talk to me, soul, just to make me feel small. I'm really diverse, in fact, I really dive deep in a verse, making you think twice before playing the beat in reverse. I'm versatile. I never answer words to curse any man. In fact, I'm taking back to what is worse. The hungry source, I'm cool. The middleman, the man of man to middleman. The set plan, the truth is wrong. I'm guessing I should lie stronger and greener pastures so all the saints stay righteous. Yeah? Saints stay righteous. Yeah? Saints stay righteous. Hey, wherever you are, come on. Greener pastures where the saints stay righteous. 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 Okay, cool. Hey, fantasy. Yeah. Yeah. Fantasies. Yeah. Yeah. Fantasies. Yeah. Yeah.
Oops. Thanks.
Yeah, man, African vibration now. Hold on, one big back this one. Hold on, man, when I keep Selassie. Yeah, man, I'm forming of the creation now. What can you say, is a Rasta man? Yes, African vibration. Yes, forming of creation. Africa, this one. Holy man, what I keep Selassie. Yes, Andres Omega Parade. Yes, we love it in the maximum, we don't know. All of us upside on nice place. Yes, Ross Army. Right about now. Yes, I'll see this one.
Well, easy. You never get to Zion without your love.
Yes, Ellie 16.
You must be good, you must be careful. We could run like you know you should. To reach
yes, gotta be careful.
To reach the holy land. To reach that city. Reach the defense. Well, easy. No evil Jesus, they won't be there. No bad mind won't be there. Your private jet just won't help you.
Yes, Nick Jonah.
Flash just can't do. That just
Yes, boom sound. We're gonna King Road International, you don't know say. Yeah, man, Ellie 16 this one. Yes, Generous Army this.
You never get to Zion without your love. Never reach the land that you dreaming of. You must be good, you must be careful. Live a bright life and know you should. Your mind reach the holy.
Holy man, what I keep Selassie.
Until the pressure cease.
Yes, Ross Army.
Cry of liberation from a hard point of view.
Yes, sir. It's all about a big number, this one. Yeah, man, right on China. Yeah, man, put a like this guy. Run, I'm gonna go like King Alpha. Checking the word.